Electronics and Semiconductor Association, joining us on the show right now. A very good morning and thank you so much for your time. And the SEMICON, that starts today. What are the event's expectations? Help us understand, what do you expect from the ecosystem and what could be the big announcements?
Oh, today is a big day. See, if you look at SEMICON, this is the fourth year that we're doing this in India, and this is a worldwide event. And it's essentially a market maker event where you have producers from all over the world come into one place and look at how they can collaborate, how they can work with each other to drive more value than they individually can. So my expectations in this event specifically, being the largest that we have ever done in India, we have participants from India and we have participants from 45 other countries who have put in not just their exhibits, but also brought in their experts. So my expectation is that a lot of people will get to network, a lot of people will get to see the progress that Indian companies have made. Indian companies will get to see what goals they can set for themselves when they look at other companies outside India, and together they can come and create value not just for India, but for the rest of the world. So my expectation is that we create new values, we create new avenues of growth, and we create solutions that are more relevant than the solutions that exist today.
Right. And what would be the key policies the government and the companies are likely to announce in the next 2 days?
See, it's an interesting question. I definitely do not want to steal the thunder of India Semiconductor Mission, MITI, and the union government on the announcements that they will make. But if we just take a step back, a few years ago, the production-linked incentive scheme for display fabs, for OSATs, for ATMPs, has already started to take effect. We are already starting to see results. There are several companies, CG Power, Tata, Suchi Semicon, and RRP, and many others who have their manufacturing plants either almost done or very close to being ready to ship the first silicon out, to ship the first products out. Along with that, there was a design-linked incentive scheme where fabless design companies were getting an incentive with a help from the government to go create designs that could be used by other companies, could be manufactured into other products, or also could fill the fab capacity and the manufacturing capacity in India. So I am looking forward to the government of India taking the next step, which is expanding the scheme, which is including more incentives. And I cannot wait as much as your viewers cannot to see what's going to be announced at this event today.
Okay, and Richard, now that we've seen this push coming in from the government in terms of that Independence Day announcement, help us understand what would be the important timelines for growth for the semiconductor industry in India?
So, see, timelines. It's an interesting question because we can say that we are already behind. Not just India, everybody in the world is already behind, which means that the problems are in front of us today. So, when I look at the timelines for what's happening in India, when I look at the design companies are already creating IP, which is being looked at by other companies across the world, other businesses across the world. When we look at the readiness of the manufacturing, CG Power is very close. Tata OSAT is very close. Then RRP is very close. Kaynes already has an EMS line and have expanded an EMS line. They're also very close to putting the OSAT together. So I expect that in the next 18 months, all of these facilities will come online one after the other. And that will be good because each one of them is pursuing a slightly different strategy. These strategies sometimes overlap and sometimes don't. So they will compete, but they will also create unique value, different from each other, that will help not just them, but our country and the rest of the world.
Right. And what does the industry want going ahead in the semiconductor industry, because it's pretty much at a nascent stage?
We are now seeing about 15 state governments also participating at this event, because the state governments have also realized that this is an opportunity for the states to take their state economy forward and become a part of this great journey that we are on, to become what we in IESA call a three-pronged vision, India becoming a product nation, India becoming a production nation, and India becoming a skills nation where we supply product, production, and skills to everybody in the world. So that's the first part, is the networking. Second, that the companies expect is some policies from these state governments and union governments to help them out. So going back to the question you asked me earlier, what announcements? I expect announcements to be made that will be very beneficial and very attractive for companies who are starting out, companies who are somewhere in the middle of their journey, and companies who are also mature, who will be able to take benefit from everything that is going to get discussed over the next 3 days. The one thing that the companies also want is access to market. And then we can talk about access to market at length, but essentially the first step that the government has taken is to incentivize production. Second step the government has taken is to incentivize design. And at this point, some of the industry and leaders in those industries are talking about how about we incentivize Indian companies to buy Indian products. Because that's the next thing that's going to come, is once the product is designed, once the product is manufactured, is it competing with something that is available across the border because the other country has been doing it for a few years before us.
Okay, so that's the view. And while we have Richard with us, who represents the entire semiconductor industry, let's also bring in one of the strongest players from this space. We have Mr. Jairam Sampath, the whole-time director and CFO at Kaynes Technology, joining us. And Mr. Sampath, hi, morning. Thanks so much for your time. Of course, big event today, the SEMICON 2025 is upon us. What is the industry expecting from this event? And also help us understand, are we going to hear any new launch or any company announcement over the next 3 days?
Yeah, I think more than announcements, I think we are in the doing phase right now. So we were one of the first 4 companies to have got the ISN nod for setting up OSAT facilities, and I'm happy to tell you the pilot plant is ready and operational. We've got 3 anchor clients with us now, and hopefully this month the first chip out actually made from here, which will be proffered for approval with the client, will be done. We have got clients in 3 different countries, one US, one Germany, and one Japan based clients, and I think the traction is pretty good. The support from government has been very timely. Of course, we did have some little delay in our approvals because of the elections and so on, but I think barring that, we have caught up with the entire situation, and hopefully this month you will start seeing something from our side as far as semiconductor is concerned. So as far as semiconductor assembly is concerned, we are not merely interested in packaging. We are also having a very good testing and reliability lab set up. We want to work on designing certain products around our clients' requirements and so on. So there are many divisions in our semiconductor portfolio, and so just like the EMS, we want to become a end-to-end supplier. Of course, we may not do the largest of the volumes here, and obviously we will have a largest number of clients. Already we have 3. You can call them anchor clients, and then there are many more available with us. So I think the going is good. There is strong traction in the marketplace. As far as industry expectation is concerned, I think this momentum should continue. There should be more players who come into the industry, because a market is not made by a few players, but market is made by at least 10-15 players, strong players, in a particular country who can provide these services. And around it, the entire supply chain gets built up, supply chain of component materials and so on and so forth, and also skilled manpower. So that's another thing which obviously we are working ourselves, and also other industry players too are working, because there will be sudden spurt in requirement of people. And it's a good thing to do, because India has a lot of employable people who need just small training. So we really look forward to next few years to kind of take this entire enterprise into its mature form, and then look forward to further investments later on.
Absolutely. A lot of, or rather abundant opportunity in this sector. But Richard, if I could just get back to you, what are the key issues or bottlenecks do you foresee for the industry right now?
If you are a systems company in India who buys an electronic product, either a printed circuit board or an IC chip from a supplier outside India today, and now you have an Indian player who's producing a similar part, the Indian player has to provide the same quality of results at a lower price or better quality of results at the same price. Because otherwise, for a systems manufacturer, take somebody, example, who's building a BLDC fan or somebody who's making light bulbs. They are all electronic controlled and they are getting those components of those products from somewhere else. An Indian player comes along, and because the Indian player is new, the Indian player is starting out, the Indian player will not have the economies of scale. So one of the things that we could and we should potentially look at is incentivizing buying components from an Indian company, and the incentives coming from the government. Now, government can do this very easily in the government sector, but also incentivizing the private sector. The same BLDC fan maker, the same air conditioner maker, the same cell phone maker, to say that, hey, if you buy from this Indian company and the component is providing you equal or greater value than what you buy today, then there is an incentive for you to buy from a local company, which over time is going to help the new company who's producing to achieve the economies of scale and then compete head on with any other company across the world. So because we are a few years behind, we need that extra fillip to not just talk about the production and design side, but also on the consumption side.
Right. Mr. Sampath, there seems to be a lot of bullishness for the industry now with China relations also improving, right, with the country. Tell me, what sort of incremental benefits can one expect for the industry?
Yeah, so we are the classical definition of man in the middle, right? So we have still to gain a lot from markets in the West, Europe and North America. And we have supply base, which is to the east, which is China and South Asia and so on. So I think a harmonious relationship with either side would go a long way in furthering business prospects for the country. I mean, that's an obvious statement to make. The other benefits that we'll have is that in order to be a reliable supplier of any particular component or a product or a system, you need to have overcome the supply chain hitches. You can't have suddenly some component being put on some watch list and something not being shipped out and so on. So I think those kinds of problems will be overcome. I have a feeling that the semiconductor electronics will continue to remain out of this fight that is going on tariffs and so on. So from that perspective, I think we have 2 to 3 years time frame for Indian companies to gear up and really make the best use of acquiring customers and also setting up nice supply chain basis so that we can have a profitable business going. So I think the prospects will only improve because of good supply chain relationships. We still have yet a lot to learn from places like China. Of course, it's a balancing act that the country has to play. So not too far and not too near is the kind of thing which we are good at doing. So we play to each other's strengths rather than point out each other's weaknesses. So the strengths of Chinese is, of course, component supply and large volume production and so on and so forth. Our strengths are more in the intellectual areas like design and low volume production and critical products, etc. Also, we have a bit of fear of God in us to the extent that we do protect intellectual property and all that. So given we play to our strengths and the other people play to their strengths, I think all can have a good go at the business. And as you know, it's not just about shifting the supply chain basis from one country to the other. There's a whole lot of development that's happening in electronics and the kind of electronics of the future that will be required in the era of AI and GPUs and satellites and so on and so forth. There's a lot more development to be done, and I think going forward, we can look forward to a lot of advanced electronics being made, and India will be one such country which can contribute a lot to this development.
Well, indeed, and on your screen we can also see the live visuals that we are gathering from SEMICON 2025, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi is present, and along with him, we can also see Delhi CM Rekha Bhardwaj as well as Ashwini Vaishnav. So these are the live visuals that we are getting to have from SEMICON 2025 that is still underway. We'll keep getting you more updates from that. But Mr. Sampath, to the point that you were making with respect to the growth opportunities for Indian players. But in the next 2 to 3 years, you believe that the industry can really make a big shift. But help us understand, during this period, do you believe that you, or rather some of the Indian players, should be open for some more partnerships, some technical JVs, is something that you will be open for, or some collaborations?
No, absolutely. The technology transfer comes from few sources, and most of them are clients. And so we are already working, especially in the OSAT area. We do have now enough partnerships in the what is the traditional wire bonding and legacy packaging area. And we've been very fortunate to have some of the leading companies in the world work with us. And then, of course, we are looking forward to additional collaborations which can help us to set up processes and expertise in the area of advanced packaging, right going up to the holy grail of co-packaged optics and so on. So we are like the cautious child, right? So we are working with companies ahead of time, but I think it's required to be done. You need to collaborate with people who have technology, as the war of the future will be fought not on anything else but on technology. So we've got 2-3 years to get our act together and become good at high-tech production. And that's what we are setting out to do. And you will see a lot more collaborations, both on the semicon side. Of course, in EMS, we do have some things going. And even the PC board that we are trying to establish, there also we see a lot of bullishness. So you're right, 2-3 years time is all you have to become good at technology and take market leadership.
So then, given that it's so buzzing and bullish a segment, Jairam, when can we expect the IPO for your semiconductor arm?
I'm at liberty to talk about all that because we have a process, etc. So we keep our focus more on customers, and we keep our focus more on making sure that the companies yield cash. And then, of course, financing becomes just a decision to be made. So whatever decision is required to safeguard our interests of customers and then grow this scale, we will not hesitate to do that in future. That's all I can tell you. At this point in time, there is nothing in sight regarding any other, let's say, financing arrangement. We have enough money to push our envelope forward for the next 2 to 3 years time frame. We'll come back to you after 2-3 years to see whether we have some other opportunities.
We will await that, but we will talk to you sooner than that too. But great to have you on the show today, Jairam. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, that's that on what's happening within the semicon space. But all eyes are going to be on the all-important GST meet, as well as the council is now going to be